Hi everyone, and welcome to The Sleepy Scientist. I'm really happy you're here. Tonight, we're going to go on a calm and quiet trip to learn something amazing. So get comfy, take a deep breath, and let's enjoy this peaceful science story together. Before we start, tell me in the comments, where are you watching from and what time is it for you right now? If you like relaxing science videos, don't forget to tap the like button. Now let's begin.
Your fingernails grow in silence. They do not shout, nor do they rush, but in their slow, patient rise is written the rhythm of life itself. If you hold your hand still and simply observe, you might not notice any change at all. But give it days and the growth becomes undeniable, a quiet record of time moving forward. Beneath that gentle curve of keratin, there is a story of invisible builders. They do not rest. They do not tire. Deep inside your skin, tiny factories read instructions written in the language of life. These instructions, the code, are tucked away in a spiral too small to see, yet powerful enough to shape your every detail. It is here that the genome sleeps and sings. This spiral, known as DNA, is not just a string. It is a folded whisper of generations. Each strand holds information about how your nails form, how they grow, how fast they heal. And more than that, they carry whispers of your ancestors, their decisions, their adaptations, their dreams encoded into molecules. You don't have to understand it to feel it. When you trim your fingernails, you are cutting away days of biological poetry. You are witnessing the end result of a cellular orchestra, cells at the base of the nail bed working in rhythm, multiplying, pushing older cells forward until they harden and flatten and shine. Let's drift deeper. The cells that form your fingernails are called keratinocytes. They begin their journey beneath the skin where a blueprint tells them what to become. The blueprint is DNA made of 4 letters, A, T, C, and G, simple letters repeated millions of times. Yet from them emerges structure, texture, even the slight pink tint that lies beneath your nail. DNA doesn't rush. It waits, patiently unfolded or tightly packed until the cell needs to read a part of it. Then, like opening a chapter from a very old book, the cell carefully uncurls the needed section and begins to copy. This is how instructions are shared, not shouted, not argued, but passed quietly from one molecule to another. And within this calm exchange, identity is formed. Your nails grow in a pattern unique to you. Their shape, their speed, even the tiny white moons near the base, all arise from silent genomic instructions. They are not just protective plates. They are living evidence of a lifelong story, told one layer at a time. The nail bed is a soft stage where cells perform their duties without recognition. Under the surface, stem cells divide, decide, and dedicate themselves to this one task, forming a protective covering for your fingers. Why does the body do this? Perhaps because fingertips are how you touch the world. They are how you feel warmth, texture, vibration. And so the body guards them with nail shields made not of armor but of carefully assembled protein. That protein is keratin, and even that has its instructions stored in the DNA deep within each cell. A molecule guides another. A message becomes motion. A spiral becomes structure. It happens again and again, all without sound. Even more quietly, mutations sometimes slip into the story. A single letter misread, a message slightly changed. Sometimes it makes no difference. Other times it becomes part of a family trait, curved nails, fast-growing ones, or the absence of moons at the base. These tiny variations are passed on from parent to child, encoded into the spiral. Your nails are more than biological endings. They are inherited endings, shaped by generations of cellular decisions. And beneath the biology is still more wonder, because DNA is not made just of instructions, it's made of patience. In the time it takes for your fingernails to grow a single millimeter, billions of molecules have moved, unfolded, translated, and built. This is the story that never stops, even when you sleep, especially when you sleep. Night is when the body restores itself and your cells get to work. Quiet builders under moonlight, constructing you again and again. And so when you look at your fingernails trimmed, polished, bare, remember this. They are the soft conclusion of something vast and ancient. Each layer was born from code. Each shine a memory of molecular whispers. You are carrying science at your fingertips. You always have. You always will. Now imagine the journey backward, from the edge of your fingernail to the deep command center inside every cell. Behind every ridge, every smooth curve, there are layers of decisions being made, not by thought but by chemistry. The keratin that makes your nail tough and clear was built from amino acids, molecules stitched together by tiny ribosomes, like artisans reading a recipe that's billions of years old. The ribosome never questions the recipe. It never skips a step. It reads from the messenger RNA, which itself is a copy of DNA's quiet script. All of this happens without your notice, yet without it, your nails could not form. The process is intricate, ancient, and continuous, a silent choreography taking place in the microscopic shadows of your body. But what is DNA really? It is more than a spiral. It is a record of survival written in molecular ink. Across time, through storms and sunlight, through generations that lived, learned, and faded, the code has endured. And in your fingernails, it continues to speak. Scientists have found that even the rate at which nails grow can be linked to hormonal changes, to stress, to illness, to weather. The body is always responding, adjusting, and your nails respond too, slow in winter, fast in summer, brittle with age, strong with health. And beneath that responsiveness is DNA, regulating enzymes, managing cell cycles, triggering the synthesis of keratin when it's time to grow again. Let's drift deeper into that spiral. Each cell in your fingertip contains about 6 feet of DNA, folded with such care that it fits inside a space invisible to the eye. That DNA is divided into 23 pairs of chromosomes, and within those are thousands of genes, each gene like a line in a poem, responsible for something specific, like color, shape, or speed of cell division. Some genes are always active, like background hums of music. Others sleep, waiting for signals or light or temperature to awaken them. Together, they create your biological rhythm, your personal song. There's a gene that tells your keratinocytes when to divide, and another that tells them how to shape the protein they produce. These genes work not in isolation but in harmony, like instruments in an orchestra. Sometimes, a conductor molecule will come along, like a hormone, and speed things up or slow things down. Other times, environmental cues, sunlight, nutrition, even emotional well-being, will gently push the pace of growth forward or hold it back. This is how biology listens. This is how DNA reacts. Even the surface of your nails reflects a deeper truth. Have you ever noticed faint lines running across your nails? These lines, sometimes called Bose lines, are messages from the past, moments when the body paused its production, often due to illness or stress. They are not flaws, they are stories. And in that way, your nails are like a timeline of your recent life. Just as tree rings reveal the seasons of a tree's life, your nails quietly log the seasons of your body's experience. DNA doesn't just build structure, it builds memory. Some scientists now believe that fingernails can hold biomarkers, chemical signatures that reveal deeper information about your health. By analyzing the keratin, researchers can detect traces of heavy metal, stress hormones, or nutrient levels. In this way, your nails become more than a protective surface. They become archives, like scrolls rolled tight with secrets. And all of it, again, stems from the genome, its quiet diligence, its tireless copying, its ceaseless unfolding. And yet the genome does not act alone. Surrounding it are epigenetic markers, tiny switches and tags that decide which parts of the DNA should be read and which should stay closed. These markers can be influenced by your life, your choices, your environment. They don't change the DNA, but they change how it behaves. If the genome is the script, then epigenetics is the director, deciding which lines to emphasize. And that, too, is reflected in your nails. Growth patterns, strength, and thickness can all be epigenetically shaped by your habits, your stress levels, your nutrition, and even your sleep. There is quiet intelligence in your body. It speaks not in words but in molecules. It listens not with ears but with receptors. And in this quiet communication, fingernails grow not as decoration but as a testament to the precision and poetry of life. The same code that tells a cell to form a nail also tells another cell to form an eyelash, or a heartbeat, or the lens of an eye. It is all the same language, spoken in different dialects. In a way, your nails are ambassadors of your DNA. They are visible proof that the invisible world inside you is alive and active. And this story, so delicate, so persistent, begins before you are born and continues after every trim. You are always building, always becoming. And in your fingernails, that becoming is written line by line, layer by layer, cell by cell. They grow slowly because patience is their craft. They shine gently because clarity is in their nature. So the next time you rest your fingers on a table or watch the moonlight glint off your nail, pause. Consider the symphony unfolding inside you. Consider the spiral, the codes, the enzymes, the rhythms. Consider the choices made long before you could choose, encoded in the story of life, and how they bloom now quietly at the tips of your fingers. Close your eyes and imagine standing at the edge of a quiet river, its surface still, its depths unknown. This is what the genome is like. Beneath its smooth simplicity lies a current of incredible complexity, moving gently through every moment of your existence. In your fingernails, that current becomes visible. It breaks the surface. It grows outward. Each fraction of a millimeter, each subtle curve or shine is not just keratin. It is memory, mathematics, and movement combined. It is the legacy of all that came before you and all that your body is still becoming. You might think of your nails as still, but they are in constant, invisible motion. And motion, in biology, always has meaning. As your nails extend slowly into the air, they are marking the passage of time not in seconds, but in cells. And each of those cells once held a copy of you, your entire genetic code, coiled neatly, waiting to be read. This is a story written without ink. It is a story that never finishes. Even when a nail falls off or is cut, the instructions remain. Deep below in the matrix, new keratinocytes are already forming, already reading, already building the next line. There is no end, only continuation. The genome does not forget, it simply writes again. We often look at DNA as something stored away, hidden in a nucleus untouched. But DNA is not a museum exhibit. It is an active participant. It listens, adapts, corrects, repairs. Every day your cells experience tiny mistakes, misread letters, broken strands. But your body has gentle guardians called repair enzymes. They move along the spiral like librarians, checking for errors, correcting what they can. Even in the dark, your DNA protects its message. Even when you sleep, the work continues. And that is why your nails keep growing. Because beneath stillness, life is always in motion. There's beauty in how the smallest details reveal the grandest truths. In your nails, we see a living edge of biology, chemistry, and time. But we also see connection. Because the same processes shaping your nails are shaping everyone else's too. The spiral that builds your fingertip also builds the wing of a bird, the root of a plant, the tail of a whale. It is the shared language of life, and your fingernails are your quiet accent, softly unique, yet universally fluent. You are part of something vast, something ongoing, something sacred. And your body, without words, knows this. When you're wounded, it heals. When you grow, it adapts. When the seasons change, so too does your biology. The genome is not fixed like stone. It is alive like water, flowing, folding, responding. That's why fingernails grow faster in the summer. That's why stress can slow them. That's why even your dominant hand may have slightly faster growth, as if the body knows which side of you is more active, more exposed, more in need of repair. But even beyond the biology, your nails are quietly poetic. They are reminders. Each one is a soft symbol of your endurance. As they lengthen, they show that you are still healing, still aging, still renewing. They do not ask to be noticed, yet they mark your time better than any clock. And within their silent rhythm is the hidden fingerprint of DNA's song, resilient, tireless, tender. The same song sung by ancestors, echoed in your cells, and passed forward to the next generation, perhaps through the child who one day holds your hand and traces the shape of your nail. In this way, the story in your fingernails is more than molecular. It is emotional. It is timeless. It's the story of a code that chose to survive, to adapt, to express itself not in fire or thunder but in quiet growth. It's the story of how science meets softness, how chemistry becomes comfort, how life, even at its smallest, insists on beauty. So let your nails grow unhurried. Let them curl slightly at the edge, shimmer under warm light, remind you that you are made of something ancient yet still becoming. There is peace in knowing that while the world moves fast and changes quickly, your nails move slow, and that's enough. They teach patience. They teach presence. And through them, the genome continues its endless tale, not just in strands of letters, but in the everyday miracle of you. Your fingernails are not just endings. They are extensions. They are windows into the invisible world that made you. And with every gentle breath, every heartbeat, every night you drift to sleep, the story continues, layered, encoded, quiet, and alive. There is a spiral deep inside you, coiled like a sleeping river, flowing through every cell without ever being seen. It does not glow or pulse. It does not move with sound. Yet it holds the entire history of you and more than you. This spiral is DNA, the molecule of memory. Not memory in the way we think of childhood or yesterday's dreams, but something more ancient, something quieter. DNA remembers every breath your ancestors took, every survival, every soft adaptation that helped them stay. And now, that memory lives in you, not in your thoughts, but in the spiral nestled within your blood, your bones, your fingernails, your heart. Imagine opening a book without words, a book written in letters that do not speak but build. A T, C, and G, four letters that form the alphabet of life. These letters don't write sentences. They build bodies. They shape skin and spine. They whisper when to grow and when to stop. In the quiet of the night while you rest, your DNA does not. It continues, slowly and softly, passing along instructions to every cell, so they may keep being what they were meant to be. Cells remember not because they think, but because DNA tells them who they are over and over again, like a lullaby sung in molecules. Let's drift a little closer. When a cell divides, it must pass along its memory. That memory is not just a vague impression, it's exact down to the smallest detail. The spiral unwinds, is copied, and wins again. Like a careful librarian duplicating a sacred scroll, your body makes sure that the message is preserved. But sometimes tiny changes appear, a letter swapped, a piece skipped, a fold misplaced. These are mutations, and not all are dangerous. Some are forgotten. Some are silent. Some, however, are remembered forever, etched into the next generation like a new line added to an old story. DNA remembers in layers. There are sequences that haven't changed in millions of years, and there are sequences that changed just recently, adapting to the modern world, to food, to climate, to language. This memory isn't stored in your brain. It's in every breath you take, every strand of hair you shed. That's why scientists can look at bones that are thousands of years old and still find life's story. Because DNA is the quietest historian the world has ever known. It doesn't use ink or paper. It uses time and cells. Now picture a leaf in autumn. The colors begin to change, not because the tree forgets summer, but because the DNA remembers what comes next. It prepares the leaf to let go. It withdraws chlorophyll, it slows production. It guides the process gently. Your body does the same, following patterns remembered over eons. As you grow, heal, or simply sit still, DNA directs your body through change, based on lessons written long before you were born. You are not just living biology. You are living memory. And DNA doesn't remember alone. Wrapped around it are proteins called histones, which act like spools, holding the spiral tight or letting it loosen. Whether a section of DNA is read or left unread often depends on how it's wound. And the winding changes based on experience. Your body adjusts. It listens. It rewrites. That's how trauma, diet, sleep, and love leave invisible marks, not by changing the letters, but by deciding which letters are allowed to speak. This is called epigenetics, and it is the whisper between DNA and life. Consider this: you are made of memories you've never lived, shaped by storms you've never seen. If your ancestors lived through famine, their DNA changed slightly, adapted to conserve energy. And you may carry that memory, feeling hunger differently, storing fat differently, not because of choice, but because of inheritance. DNA doesn't forget what was necessary for survival. It stores those lessons and passes them on. You carry the wisdom of deserts, forests, cold winters, and warm fires, all encoded in silence. Every time your heart beats, cells divide, and with each division, DNA is copied once more. It's a miracle that it works as often as it does. Billions of letters arranged in a perfect sequence, faithfully repeated across a lifetime. And when it's not perfect, your body repairs what it can. Tiny molecules called repair enzymes float through your cells, finding mistakes, correcting them quietly. They are unsung protectors of your story, patching memory before it unravels. But memory is not just accuracy. It is also transformation. Sometimes a mistake becomes a gift, a gene that helps you fight illness, a change that gives your hair its curl, a tiny variation that lets you digest milk or see more colors. These gifts of change come wrapped in the same spiral. That's why no two people are the same. Each of us is a remix of ancient memory with a few new notes added by life. And so the spiral continues, winding through time, through bloodlines, through you. It spins without sound, without rest, and carries the deepest truths of biology that life remembers. And through that remembering, it endures. Let's wander further into this spiral of remembrance. Imagine you are standing in a great library, not of books, but of blueprints. Endless corridors stretch out, lined with coiled strands of DNA, each one a scroll wrapped tightly in silence. These scrolls do not gather dust. They are read every moment by every living cell in your body. The instructions aren't shouted aloud. They're whispered, passed from molecule to molecule carefully, as if the entire structure might dissolve under too much noise. In this silence, your body knows what to do, because it remembers. It remembers how to grow skin after a scratch, how to produce insulin after a meal, how to calm the heart after a scare. These aren't guesses or reactions. They are orchestrated responses, guided by instructions written long ago, passed through centuries of life. You are a living archive. Inside your genome are fossils not made of stone, but of code. Ancient viral DNA, echoes of infections faced by your ancestors, still lies buried in your chromosomes, silent now but present. These aren't threats anymore. They are like forgotten rooms in a castle, reminders of battles long won. And beside them, the more familiar rooms, the genes that guide your immune system, your blood, your bones. All coexist, all humming with silent purpose. There is no part of your body untouched by this memory. Even your tears follow a path outlined in DNA, the salt, the enzymes, the emotional signal that begins in your brain and ends in a drop. All of it remembered. Let's drift to the beginnings. Before you were you, before you had a name or a heartbeat, a single cell held your entire script. One cell, two strands of DNA, one from your mother, one from your father, came together and began the great unfolding. That cell remembered how to become two, then four, then eight. And with each division, a pattern emerged. Not chaotic, not random, but purposeful, as if it already knew the shape of your future. This is not magic, it is biology. But it feels like magic because it is so quiet, so patient, so exact. And as you grew, the memory deepened. In your bones, the marrow read the genome to form blood. In your eyes, cells followed the spiral to sculpt the lens. In your lungs, to shape the alveoli, the tiny air sacs that let you breathe without thinking. You have never had to remind your body to function. It just knows. Because DNA is not just a structure. It is a story of how to live. It is a quiet remembering that begins at conception and continues every moment of your life. This memory doesn't only belong to humans. Trees remember how to drop their leaves. Birds remember how to migrate. Fungi remember how to decompose. Each in its own language, its own spiral, yet all made of the same four letters. A T, C, and G rearranged, repeated, repurposed. The letters don't change. The sentences do. This is why a chimpanzee shares more than 98% of your genome, yet is still distinctly not you. Because the memory is the same, but the expression is different. DNA is not about identity. It is about possibility. And possibility is where the genome becomes most poetic. There are genes that lie silent for decades, never used, never read, but they remain just in case. In the cold, in the heat, in sickness, or in pregnancy, they might be called upon. Your body saves these fragments like old tools passed down in a family. You might never need them, but if the time comes, they're there. This is how DNA prepares, not with fear, but with foresight. Even your emotions leave footprints on the genome. Studies now show that trauma, stress, and even joy can shape the epigenetic landscape, not by changing the letters, but by tagging parts of the spiral, turning them on or off. These changes can last a lifetime. In some cases, they can be passed to children. Imagine that. Your joy, your fear, your survival might become part of your child's story, a layer of memory wrapped around a deeper memory. A ripple through generations, carried not in words but in biology. And this memory isn't just about survival, it's about beauty. The curl of your hair, the arch of your brow, the pitch of your voice, all gently coaxed into being by instructions that were written long before your birth. These traits are not accidents, they are inheritances shared between you and those who came before. In this way, DNA connects us, not just to our parents, but to ancient ancestors who walked under different skis, who spoke different languages, who loved and laughed and lived with the same spiral within them. You are not alone in your body. You are a chorus of cells, each with its own tiny memory, all reading from the same ancient script. And yet each one is slightly different, slightly shaped by experience, location, and time. Your skin cells are not your brain cells, though they share the same DNA. What makes them different is not the message, but which parts are read, which parts are remembered. That too is part of the spiral's wisdom, not just what it says, but when, where, and how it speaks. And so your DNA remembers, not with words, but with patterns, not with thoughts, but with structure, not with images, but with instructions written in loops. It remembers light and darkness, silence and music, hunger and fullness. It remembers pain and healing. It remembers you. And even as your body changes, grows older, grows wiser, grows still, the spiral continues to whisper. This is how you are made. This is how you are kept whole. This is how you remember. Now let us walk slowly toward the ending of this spiral path, not an end in finality, but a soft settling like dusk falling on a quiet field. Because DNA, for all its complexity, lives not to impress but to persist. It does not seek applause. It seeks continuation. Every strand, every coil, every folding remembers not just for the past, but for the future. And so even in death, the DNA lingers for a time, echoes of the life it supported, records of the choices made, the meals eaten, the stress endured, the love carried quietly within the body's memory. This is not poetic exaggeration. This is biology's hush, its gentle insistence that life always tries to go on. In your fingernails, as in your bones, your blood, your breath, DNA remains the silent steward. It does not ask if you are aware. It simply does its work. And when that work changes through age, through illness, through healing, it adjusts with a precision beyond understanding. You cut your nails and they grow again. You get a cut and your skin repairs. You grow from child to adult and still the same spiral guides every change. There is comfort in knowing that no matter how chaotic the outside world may seem, inside you, there is a pattern that has not stopped unfolding since your very first moment. The spiral of DNA has no pride. It does not demand to be seen. It hides inside cells smaller than the eye can see, yet it holds within them a world so vast it spans time itself. All that you are, your height, your smile, the texture of your sleep, is a reflection of this code. And yet DNA is not fate, it is foundation. How it is read, how it is changed by life, that is where the softness of nature begins to bloom. You are not a prisoner of your genes. You are a garden in which they grow. Even now, as you listen, your DNA is at work. Cells are dividing. Proteins are being shaped. Messages are being passed like fireflies in the dark, each one glowing briefly before fading into the next. There is no pause. Even when you sleep, the spiral does not. In your dreams, your body repairs, rebalances, renews. And when you wake, you are a little different, slightly more healed, slightly more aged, slightly more you. All of this because a spiral you cannot see remembers exactly what you are supposed to be. And still mystery remains. Scientists have mapped the human genome, but they do not yet fully understand it. So much of DNA lies unexplained, sections once called junk, now suspected to carry regulatory secrets, perhaps even emotional echoes. What is stored in these quiet stretches? Are they dormant memories? Codes yet to awaken? The spiral does not say. It keeps its secrets tightly wound, offering only what is needed when it is needed and nothing more. But if you listen carefully, you might feel the truth of it, not as data but as intuition. When your heart races at the sound of music, when your hands tremble with joy, when your body aches with longing or rests in peace, the spiral is there, conducting from within, not controlling but allowing, not commanding but suggesting. In the vast space between science and feeling, DNA is the bridge, steady and unseen. And so we return to the beginning, where memory and biology met in the spiral. The quiet twist that built you, carried you, shaped you, not as a machine but as a song. One that began long before your birth and that will echo long after, in the lives you touch, the children you raise, the traces you leave behind. For DNA is not only a memory of survival, it is a memory of connection, a memory of possibility, a memory of love. Let this comfort you. Let it slow your breath. Your cells are not confused. Your body is not lost. It is reading its script, playing its part, carrying on the most ancient task of all: to continue, to endure, to remember. You are not merely made of stars. You are made of memory, and that memory in every cell, in every spiral, is alive, not in thunder, not in fire, but in the patient, perfect quiet of the DNA that sings you into being, one soft note at a time. There is a clock ticking inside you, though you will never hear it. It does not tick like wood or metal. It doesn't swing or chime or strike the hour. Instead, it pulses gently within your cells, marking time in proteins, cycles, and light. This is your circadian rhythm, the inner clock that lives deep within your biology. From the moment you are born, it begins to count, not in hours or minutes, but in patterns of rise and fall, wake and sleep, warmth and coolness. And this clock, ancient and wise, does not need your attention to do its work. It watches the sun. It listens to darkness. It whispers to your cells when to rest, when to rise, when to heal. Imagine, for a moment, standing at the edge of the ocean. The waves come and go in perfect rhythm, pulled by forces you cannot see. That is how your cells respond to this hidden clock, pulled gently by a tide of genes and proteins, responding not to thought but to time written in your biology. Every 24 hours, your body moves through a cycle, temperature shifts, hormones rise and fall, metabolism speeds and slows, all guided by a rhythm that began long before you ever saw a clock. Even a cell taken from your skin and placed in a dish will keep time, beating with its own molecular rhythm, as if it remembers the sun without needing to see it. This rhythm is controlled by genes with beautiful names: clock, PER, cry, BMAL1. These genes turn on and off in a precise order, forming feedback loops that act like gears, turning the molecular hands of your body's timekeeper. They guide your body in ways you rarely notice. Cortisol rises just before you wake, preparing your body for alertness. Melatonin rises with dusk, guiding you toward sleep. Your blood pressure changes. Your digestion slows. And all of it is coordinated, like a quiet symphony, each section entering at just the right time. Let's go deeper. The master clock sits in a tiny region of your brain, just behind your eyes, in a bundle of neurons called the suprachiasmatic nucleus, or SCN. This tiny bundle, no larger than a grain of rice, is your conductor. It receives light through your eyes even when your eyes are closed, and uses that light to reset your rhythms each day. But the SCN is not alone. Nearly every organ has its own clock, ticking in harmony with the master, yet slightly independent. Your liver knows when to process food. Your heart knows when to slow down. Your lungs breathe in patterns that change with the time of day. The entire body is a network of ticking cells, all remembering time. And yet this clock is not fixed, it adapts. Jet lag, shift work, long nights, these things confuse the rhythm. The clocks try to reset, try to find the sun again. Sometimes it takes days. Sometimes the rhythm never fully returns. That is why sleep feels different in different places. Why late nights leave you foggy. Why waking at the same time each day makes you feel better even without changing anything else. The body craves rhythm. It heals in rhythm. It thrives in rhythm. Even your immune system follows the clock. At certain times of day, your body fights infection more strongly. At others, it rests. Wounds heal faster when they follow the body's time. Medications can be more effective or less so depending on when they are taken. This is called chronotherapy, the science of time and healing. Doctors now study when to give treatments, not just what to give. Because the body's clock is always there, always ticking, always guiding. In plants, the clock controls when leaves open to the sun, when flowers bloom, when roots absorb water. In animals, it tells birds when to migrate, bears when to hibernate, wolves when to hunt. In you, it tells your cells when to divide, when to repair, when to sleep. The rhythm is universal. It stretches from tiny bacteria that pulse with sunlight to blue whales that dive by day and rise by night. Life, everywhere, has learned to keep time. But time inside the cell is more than just sleep and wake. It is the way cells pace themselves. Mitochondria, the powerhouses of your cells, ramp up and slow down depending on the hour. Genes switch on and off like street lamps. Proteins are produced, used, and cleared away in steady cycles. Even the way your DNA is packaged changes over the course of the day, sometimes coiled tightly, sometimes relaxed and open, depending on what the body needs. And when the rhythm is broken by illness, stress, or disrupted sleep, the effects ripple through the whole system. Mood shifts, memory falters, hunger changes. The body begins to lose its place in time. This is not failure, it is disorientation. Like a ship without stars to steer by, your cells begin to drift. But just as a lost sailor finds the North Star again, your body, given the chance, will remember. Light will guide it, rest will restore it. The spiral of rhythm will turn once more. So the next time you feel tired at the same hour each night or awake just before your alarm, know that it is not habit, it is your clock. Your ancient, internal timekeeper, ticking not on a wall but in your cells. It is always there, quiet and precise, watching the sun, measuring the dark, and helping you remain in rhythm with the earth. Let's drift deeper into the rhythm where time itself lives not in hours but in harmony. Within each of your cells, the ticking continues, not with noise but with gentle patterns of gene expression and molecular flow. The cell does not check a clock. It feels the rhythm. It remembers yesterday and predicts tomorrow, all by sensing chemical changes that rise and fall with remarkable precision. This is not instinct. It is memory written in proteins. The clock and BMAL1 genes form the opening duet, turning on at dawn inside your cells, sparking a cascade of instructions. Soon after, the purr and cry genes rise to respond, pushing back, forming the feedback loop that keeps time moving gently forward. This balance is the heartbeat of molecular timekeeping, the music of your circadian rhythm. And the music plays everywhere. In your brain, the master clock aligns your thoughts to the day. In your muscles, it readies you for movement in the morning and recovery in the evening. In your digestive tract, it guides how nutrients are absorbed, optimizing meals taken in daylight and slowing the system as night approaches. Each tissue remembers its part in the orchestra. Each knows when to speak and when to fall silent. The entire body becomes a living clock, its hands made of hormones, its chimes made of enzyme activity. Even your mood rises and falls with this rhythm. Serotonin, the molecule linked to well-being, rises with morning light. As night falls, it is transformed into melatonin, guiding you into rest. It is not just your body that sleeps, but your chemistry too. Brain waves shift, heart rate slows, temperature drops. And while you sleep, your body does its hidden work, repairing cells, storing memories, clearing toxins. This isn't random, it is timed. Your cells know when night has come, even if you don't see the stars. Let's linger here. During sleep, the body follows rhythms within rhythms. In the early hours, growth hormone is released, helping rebuild tissue and bone. Later, just before waking, cortisol rises, preparing your body to re-enter the world. And through it all, your genes respond to these cues. Genes that were quiet all day begin to hum at night. Some that were busy all afternoon gently fade. This shifting landscape of gene activity is what keeps your biology tuned to the environment. If the rhythm is broken, by light at the wrong time, by skipped meals, by stress or shift work, the harmony frays. But even then your body tries to recalibrate. It searches for sunrise. It waits for silence. It listens. And still, the clock keeps its pace. This internal rhythm is so strong that even in total darkness, your body maintains a roughly 24-hour cycle. This has been shown in deep caves, in blind individuals, in isolated studies where no clocks or sunlight exist. The rhythm persists because it is older than civilization. It is etched into your DNA. In fact, nearly 40% of all genes in mammals show some level of rhythmic expression, turning on and off in time with the circadian clock. That means nearly half your biology dances to this hidden beat. But what is time to a cell? It is the predictable rise and fall of molecular signals. It is the anticipation of light before it arrives. It is a whisper passed from nucleus to cytoplasm, from one protein to another, as if the cell knows what comes next. In this way, time becomes a partner, not a master. The cell does not race against time. It walks beside it. That is why the healthiest bodies are those that respect this rhythm, those that sleep in darkness, rise with light, eat when the body is ready, and rest when it asks. Let's turn our attention to the body's repair systems. DNA repair, cellular recycling, immune response, all follow the circadian beat. At certain times, the body is more vigilant, more prepared to defend against harm. At other times, it focuses on restoration. This is why certain treatments, like chemotherapy, can be more or less effective depending on the hour they're given. It's why doctors are beginning to ask not just what medicine, but when. Timing, it turns out, is a powerful medicine in itself. And in nature, we see the same rhythm. Flowers open in the morning, not by chance, but by their own cellular clocks sensing temperature and light. Owls and bats move by night, not only because they choose to, but because their biology flows in that direction. Humans are naturally diurnal, not just because the sun is bright, but because our cells expect light in the morning and darkness at night. When this is reversed, we do not just feel tired, we feel out of sync, as if we've lost the key to a song we once knew by heart. Yet the body is forgiving. It can retune. A few days of consistent sleep, a morning walk in the sun, a quiet evening without screens. These small acts help your cells remember the song. They help your inner clock find the beat again. And as it does, health returns, clarity returns. Even emotions soften, returning to their natural rhythm. It is not just rest, it is alignment. It is being in time with your biology. So as you move through your day, know that your body is listening to the light, to the dark, to the pattern of your breath and the softness of your routines. The clock inside each cell is not counting hours. It is marking harmony. It is playing your biology's quiet lullaby. And you, without effort, are always dancing to its gentle beat. Now let us drift into the closing arc of this quiet rhythm, the soft winding down of the body's daily symphony. The clock inside each cell does not sleep, even when you do. It does not grow loud, nor does it race. It simply continues, gentle and sure, shaping the invisible architecture of life through time. And as day melts into night and your body leans toward rest, the final notes of the circadian cycle play their part. Melatonin rises like a tide in your blood, calming your thoughts, softening your muscles, dimming the lights of wakefulness. Even your breathing shifts, slower and deeper. And beneath that breath, your cells are resetting, synchronizing, remembering their place in the cycle. This memory of time is not learned, it is inherited. The genes that control circadian rhythm have been passed down for millions of years, from single-celled ancestors that once floated in oceans, rising with sunlight and retreating into the dark. In those ancient waters, light meant energy and darkness meant shelter. These patterns shaped their chemistry, and that chemistry became encoded into their genes. Over time, as life grew more complex, those same genes became the scaffolding for the biological clocks we carry now. You are not just keeping time with your own body. You are echoing the memory of Earth's rotation, the slow turning of the planet beneath stars. Even in the womb, the rhythm begins. The fetus feels the mother's heartbeat, her hormone cycles, the timing of her meals and sleep. And as the newborn enters the world, it begins to find its own rhythm, fussy at night, alert in the day, slowly learning to align with the cycle of light and dark. This alignment isn't a habit. It's a biological negotiation, a molecular agreement between body and world. And when it is found, something settles. Growth becomes smoother. Sleep becomes deeper. Emotions soften like the fading of twilight. Let us pause here in the gentleness of this realization. Your body wants balance. It craves consistency not out of rigidity but because rhythm is comfort. The same way a lullaby soothes a child, the circadian clock soothes your cells. Regular sleep, steady meals, quiet evenings, these are not rules to obey but invitations to align with the rhythm that lives in your bones. When honored, the body thrives. Digestion improves. Inflammation lowers. The heart beats with steadier strength. Even your thoughts grow clearer, because the brain too follows the clock. And yet life does not always allow for perfect rhythm. There are late nights, long journeys, sleepless weeks. There is grief that interrupts sleep, work that ignores the sun, screens that replace stars. These things confuse the body's timekeeper. But even then your cells do not give up. They wait, they adjust, they seek the sunrise. This resilience is built into the biology, your clock always trying to reset, always hopping for the return of regularity. It forgives. It adapts. It quietly remembers what it was designed to do. Scientists are still uncovering the layers of this hidden time. They have found that thousands of genes respond to the circadian rhythm, not just those tied to sleep, but those that govern metabolism, immunity, and memory. The timing of gene expression is as important as the message itself. A gene turned on at the wrong hour may cause confusion. The same gene expressed in rhythm brings harmony. This is why researchers now speak of chronohealth, not just what you do, but when you do it. The wisdom of timing, hidden in your DNA. Even aging is touched by time's spiral. As we grow older, the circadian rhythm can lose some of its precision. Sleep becomes lighter, wakefulness more frequent, but even then the clock continues. It may tick more softly, but it still guides. And with care, sunlight in the morning, gentle evenings, moments of stillness, the rhythm strengthens again. Like tuning an old instrument, the body remembers its melody. So now, as your day winds down, as the light fades behind your eyes and the world grows quiet, let your body follow the rhythm it was born with. Let the cells ease into their nighttime roles. Let the heart slow and the breath deepen. You do not need to command it. Your clock already knows. The genes are already turning. The proteins are already shifting. And soon you will slip into sleep, not because you are tired, but because your biology has sung its daily song to its final note. You are made of rhythms. You are kept whole by timing. And inside each of your trillions of cells, a silent clock continues to turn, measuring not just the hours of your day, but the poetry of your life. Your hair is older than you think. Not the strands themselves, they fall, they grow, they change. But the instructions to grow them, the patterns they follow, the chemistry that colors them, all of that began long before you were born. You see, your hair carries more than protein. It carries memory. Memory not of your thoughts, but of your ancestors. In every strand there are whispers of the people who came before you, their climates, their survival, their transformations passed gently through time. And as your hair grows quietly from your scalp, it does so by following a genetic map drawn over millennia. It does not ask questions. It simply follows the path and grows. Run your fingers through your hair. Whether it's thick or fine, straight or curled, long or short, what you're feeling is keratin, a tough, fibrous protein shaped by the instructions in your DNA. But within the smoothness of that strand is a layered story. Your genes determine not just the texture, but the shape of the follicle, the speed of growth, the placement of oils, the balance of melanin. These things were decided long before you took your first breath, shaped by people who lived under different skis. Some needed warmth, so their follicles thickened. Others lived under intense sun, so their melanin deepened. These adaptations didn't just appear. They were earned gently over time through choices the body made in response to the world. Let's drift beneath the surface. Each hair grows from a follicle, a tiny pocket in the skin that acts like a miniature factory. Inside, cells divide rapidly, building layers of keratin that push upward, forming the visible strand. This process is quiet, invisible, and constant. On average, your hair grows about half an inch each month, but that growth isn't steady forever. Each follicle follows a cycle, growing, resting, shedding, repeating. The phases have names: anagen, catagen, telogen. They are not random. They are timed, guided by hormones, nutrition, light exposure, and most of all, your DNA. And the DNA does more than build, it remembers. Scientists can analyze a strand of hair and find traces of where you've been, what you've eaten, how stressed you've been, even what kind of air you've breathed. Hair absorbs elements from your bloodstream as it grows, sealing them into its layers like rings in a tree. Each centimeter becomes a time capsule. That's why forensic scientists and anthropologists study hair. It holds clues. It tells stories your voice cannot. Hair has another secret. It keeps growing even after death, or at least it appears to. The skin recedes, the body changes, and the hair that once lived quietly beneath the surface is revealed. This illusion has inspired myths for centuries of hair as eternal, of hair as proof of life still lingering. And in some ways, those myths aren't entirely wrong. Because hair, though dead on the surface, is born of living roots. And those roots are fed by blood, by cells, by the spiral of DNA that never stops turning. Consider hair color. Melanin, the pigment that gives hair its hue, comes in two forms: eumelanin for dark tones, pheomelanine for lighter ones. The ratio between them is genetic, but it can be influenced. Sunlight can lighten hair. Age can fade it. Stress, though debated, may sometimes play a role. But mostly, your hair color is a gift from your ancestors. It reflects their places, their protections, their paths. Red hair, rare and rich, often traces back to cooler climates. Dark, thick hair to sunnier lands. Fine, light hair to regions of colder wind. Each variation a soft echo of adaptation. And then there's the curl, the wave, the coil, the straight line. This too is ancestral. It depends on the shape of the follicle and the angle at which hair grows. Round follicles make straight hair. Oval ones create waves. Elliptical shapes form curls. But these aren't random shapes. They were shaped by the world. Curls help protect the scalp from heat. Straight hair helps insulate in the cold. Each form is a silent memory of an environment long past. Let's go even deeper. Hair isn't just a biological tool. It's emotional. It grows in response to hormones. It thins with grief. It can grow more rapidly during pregnancy than shed in waves after birth. It responds to your body's chemistry, reflecting states of health or imbalance. And all of this, growth, shedding, change, is regulated by genes that are always listening to your inner world and to echoes of your ancestors, guiding the follicles without fanfare. So when you see your reflection and notice your hair falling a certain way, remember this. What you see is the visible edge of a very old story. Your hair grows not just from your head, but from your history. From every mother, every father, every child who passed along a few more instructions, a few more adaptations until they reached you. The story is not loud. It doesn't demand attention. But it's there, growing slowly, softly, strand by strand. Now imagine each hair on your body as a timeline, not of your life alone, but of countless lives before yours. Each strand that grows from your skin is made by living cells, but once it rises above the surface, it hardens, becomes something else. It's no longer alive, yet it holds a record of your living state. This paradox, dead tissue born from living memory, is part of what makes hair so mysterious, so powerful. It doesn't decay like other tissues. It endures. Ancient remains still show hair that held its shape for centuries. In those strands, scientists have found DNA, environmental traces, even chemical exposures from lifetimes ago. Hair is not fragile. It is a quiet survivor. Beneath every strand lies the dermal papilla, a small collection of specialized cells that sit at the base of the follicle, like a conductor guiding an orchestra. It sends messages through chemical signals, guiding how fast cells divide, how much pigment is added, how thick or fine the strand becomes. These signals change over time. That's why children's hair often looks different than it does in adulthood. And with age, pigment-producing cells called melanocytes begin to tire. They produce less color and slowly strands turn gray. But even this shift carries memory, not of trauma or decay, but of time. Gray hair is not a failure. It is the evidence of survival, of cycles well lived. Let's drift now to the patterns of hair. Not just the strands themselves, but where they grow, how they fall, the way they swirl in cowlicks or part without asking. These patterns, too, are genetic. They're shaped by the angles at which follicles develop during fetal growth, guided by hormones and molecular gradients. Long before birth, your scalp is being mapped, not by hands, but by silent signals that sculpt the future paths of hair. And though you may brush or cut or color it, the natural design always remains. Hair remembers its direction. The spiral of DNA still speaks, even when you try to cover its voice. There is a softness in understanding this, that your hair, though it may seem superficial, is deeply personal, that it holds chemical signatures of joy, stress, illness, and rest, that it can reflect changes in diet, in medications, in life rhythms. Hair is often the first thing people see, yet it is also one of the few parts of you that continues to grow even in silence, even without your attention. You don't have to will it. Your body simply knows. Every night as you sleep, cells in your follicles divide, push upward, and build new strands. In that silence, your body continues its oldest work, remembering who you are. Hair also responds to hormones, and not just during puberty or pregnancy. Androgens like testosterone influence the thickness and distribution of body hair. Estrogen affects scalp density. Thyroid hormones alter the speed of growth. When these levels shift through natural cycles or imbalance, hair responds, sometimes slowly, sometimes all at once. Shedding, thinning, thickening. None of it is random. It is communication. A soft signal that something within is changing. And the genome receives these signals, interprets them, and adjusts the blueprint accordingly. In this way, your hair is not only a reflection of the past, but a messenger of the present. It reacts to your life as you live it. It adjusts, accommodates, adapts. It is more than adornment. It is a record of adaptation, living proof that your body is listening to your world. From the follicle root to the strand's tip, your hair carries information. And that information can be read by scientists, by your body, by time itself. Think of hair through history. It has been cut in grief, braided in unity, shaved in war, grown in rebellion. These actions are not just cultural. They are instinctual because hair is personal. It is the one part of you that grows openly, visibly, effortlessly, expressing the inner self without a word. And this outward growth is only possible because of an inward silence, a calm, ordered biology that continues to create in spirals. The genes don't question. They build. Even the cycle of hair growth is a rhythm, anagen for growth, catagen for transition, telogen for rest. And when the cycle completes, the strand falls and a new one begins. This rhythm continues throughout life. And though the balance may change with age, with health, with seasons, the cycle never truly ends. Your body is always growing, always remembering. So next time you find a strand on your pillow or comb out a hair that's shed, remember this. It is not a loss. It is a leaf from your body's quiet forest, released because the tree is still alive, still making room for something new. It fell not because the body failed, but because it is following a pattern. One written in the same alphabet that wrote your eyes, your skin, your breath. And in this way, your hair becomes a map of your journey. Not just the physical path you walk, but the inner changes you pass through. It is your own living scroll, gently unrolling across time, growing, adapting, falling, growing again, always in conversation with the world you carry and the world you've come from. Let us now follow a single strand of hair to the very end of its journey. From the quiet of the follicle deep beneath your skin, where it was born of division and chemical precision, to the point where it breaks free into the world, exposed to sun, air, and time. It may live for months or years, depending on where it grows and how often it is touched or trimmed, but its path is always the same, one of emergence, endurance, and eventual release. And though it may seem simple, this strand is a living artifact. It carries within it 1,000 chemical signals. It remembers what your body went through while it grew, what nutrients it received, what stress you carried, how you lived during its quiet stretch of life. Hair may not feel, but it listens. Over time, the strand weathers the world. Sunlight may bleach its color, water may weaken its bonds, friction may split its ends. Still, it holds on, curling, waving, coiling, or falling straight as it was always meant to. These variations are more than surface design. They're the visible signatures of ancestral decisions, etched into the genes long before your birth. They tell the story of survival in wind and heat, of families that crossed oceans and mountains, of people who never met you but helped shape what you would look like when the breeze brushed your neck for the very first time. Even the oils that gather at your scalp coating your strands are not accidents. They are produced by sebaceous glands, tiny factories that keep hair soft, protected, hydrated. These oils carry scent, memory, emotion. They change with your mood, with your chemistry, with your age. In infancy, hair may be fine and sparse, oiled gently by a newborn's delicate balance. In adolescence, oil increases, thickens, responds to hormones. In age, it slows again. These phases aren't just about appearance. They are about change, internal seasons marked by follicles rather than leaves. Hair, like all things living, eventually lets go. A strand falls unnoticed. A few more join it. Some are lost in sleep, others in wind, some caught in fingers or brushes. But loss is not decay, it is renewal. For every strand that falls, another prepares to take its place. Not immediately, not rushed, but in its time. The hair cycle follows a quiet rhythm. The follicle rests before it begins again. This pause, this patience, is part of the wisdom encoded in your genes. Your body does not rush what it has learned to time well. Let us pause and reflect here. The average human head contains around 100,000 hair follicles. Each one has its own cycle, its own timing, its own tiny spiral of instruction. And yet together they create a landscape of identity. That texture you feel, the volume, the shine, it is not the work of a single follicle. It is a concert of thousands, working in quiet harmony. And the instruction for this harmony is not shouted from one place. It is whispered through DNA, passed from cell to cell, always adapting, always responding. You may style your hair, change its color, shape it to reflect who you are or who you want to be. But beneath all those choices, the natural rhythm remains. That rhythm is a memory of your biology, your ancestors, your environment. It cannot be erased. Even hair regrown after loss carries the same signature, not identical but familiar. It remembers its direction. It remembers its shade. Even after chemotherapy, trauma, or change, hair often returns not as something new, but as something remembered, a quiet continuation. And though hair seems separate from thought or emotion, it is deeply tied to both. You notice when it falls more than usual. You remember the way it felt in childhood. You see its changes in the mirror and feel the passage of time. Hair becomes a marker of who we are in the world, not because it has meaning on its own, but because it reflects so much of what we experience. It grows when we rest. It sheds when we stress. It thickens in health. It fades in grief. And all the while it says nothing aloud, only continues to grow or not as the body chooses. Now imagine that each strand is like a thread in a great tapestry, not woven by hands but by time. Your head, your arms, your brows, each area growing a different type of hair suited for its purpose. Some to protect, some to sense, some to express, some simply to remember. And when all these threads are seen together, they tell a story, not of fashion or style, but of biology unfolding quietly in the presence of life. So as you comb your hair or feel it move in the wind or catch its scent in the stillness of evening, pause. Listen to the silence of what it represents. This is your living inheritance, not in wealth or land, but in protein and pigment, spiral and strand. It is not flashy. It does not ask to be seen. But it has been growing from you since before you knew yourself. And it will continue quietly, gently, until it too is done. In the end, your hair is not just grown, it is remembered. And in every strand lies a soft declaration. You are part of something ancient, enduring, and alive. You are not alone. You are growing still. Inside your body, in places you will never see, a quiet orchestra is always performing. It plays no instruments, it needs no audience, yet it never stops. This is the symphony of cell division, a process more ancient than the stars, more intricate than any machine. Without it, there would be no growth, no healing, no life. And yet, this grand biological performance takes place in the shadows, hidden within the walls of your own cells, where time is measured not in hours, but in stages of division, in the stretching and folding of chromosomes, in the making and remaking of you. Imagine a single cell, small and unseen, resting in the soft fluid of your tissue. It does not look busy, it does not make noise, but inside something sacred is preparing. Signals have arrived, proteins have spoken, and now the cell begins its most delicate task, to copy itself. But this is not a careless split. It is a masterpiece of precision. First, the DNA, that spiraling code, must be carefully unzipped. Each of the 3 billion base pairs must be copied without error, every twist of the spiral mirrored in full. This is the work of polymerase enzymes, which move along the DNA like calm scribes, matching letters with patience and care. Once the DNA is copied, the cell gathers itself for division. The chromosomes condense, becoming visible, thick, like threads being braided. They align at the center, guided by the spindle fibers, thin ropes made of protein that reach out like invisible hands, ensuring that each side will receive the exact same copy. This is metaphase, one of the most elegant moments in all biology. Each chromosome, holding centuries of genetic memory, stands ready to be divided, not by force, but by coordination, by agreement written in molecules. And then the moment of separation. Anaphase begins and the chromosomes are pulled apart, one half to each side. The cell stretches, reshapes, prepares to become two. At this point it is still one, but it carries the promise of two lives within. And as it divides, a membrane begins to form between them. The cytoplasm, the outer fluid, is split. Organelles like mitochondria and ribosomes are shared between the two daughters. Nothing is wasted. Everything is deliberate. This is telophase. The final stage, the completion. One becomes two, and two in time will become many. Let's pause and reflect. This process, known as mitosis, happens billions of times a day in your body. Every second, somewhere inside you, a cell is dividing, your skin is renewing, your bones are healing, your blood is replenishing. And all of it depends on the quiet reliability of this symphony. It is not loud, it is not sudden. It moves like a tide beneath your awareness. And its purpose is not change, it is continuity. It is how you remain you, even as your cells grow old and fall away. But not all cells divide equally. Some, like nerve cells in your brain, rarely divide at all. Others, like skin cells or the lining of your stomach, divide constantly. This difference is by design. The genome, through genes called cyclins and checkpoints, decides when division is allowed and when it is not. If something is wrong, the process halts. The cell waits. It repairs. Or it quietly chooses to die through a process called apoptosis, programmed cell death, another form of the body's wisdom. When division goes wrong, the harmony is broken. A mutation might lead to uncontrolled division. This is how cancer begins, not from rage or attack, but from a loss of rhythm. A cell forgets when to stop. It divides again and again, without pause, without checking. And yet, even in this failure, the process still reflects the importance of balance. The very mechanisms that build us can also undo us, if not timed with care. But under normal conditions, the division of cells is one of life's most graceful routines. It is how you heal a paper cut, how a broken bone mends, how your hair continues to grow, how your immune system replenishes its fighters. Every act of renewal in your body begins with this silent music, the replication of DNA, the movement of chromosomes, the split of cytoplasm. And at the center of it all, an unspoken trust that each new cell will carry the same story as the one before it. Let's look more closely at the DNA during this process. Before division, it is a relaxed spiral, open and accessible. But as mitosis begins, it coils tightly, protecting itself, preparing for the journey. This condensation is essential. It prevents the long strands from becoming tangled or damaged. And when the division ends, the DNA relaxes again, returning to its soft spiral, ready to be read, to be used, to be lived. Each of your cells carries this ability, and most use it often. That's how you've grown from a single cell to the trillions that now form your body. The first division, long ago in your mother's womb, was the beginning of this lifelong song. And it has not stopped. It has continued, uninterrupted, each division an echo of that first moment, each new cell a soft continuation of your unfolding story. So the next time you feel tired, or notice your skin healing, or see a strand of hair that wasn't there before, know this. It was made in silence by cells that divided in perfect rhythm. They worked without applause, without direction, yet with astonishing coordination. And all of it, every step, every phase, was written in the spiral. The genome is the composer. The cell is the musician. The performance is your life. Let us drift deeper into the body, where division is not an event, but a language spoken not with sound, but with structure. In the tissues beneath your skin, in your blood, in the lining of your lungs, cells are dividing even now. Each one is not only building, but remembering how to build. This is not memory like a photograph or a feeling. It is molecular memory, instructions carried in the spiral of DNA, read with care, passed along with precision. When a skin cell divides, it does not question what to become. It already knows. It becomes more skin because that is the chapter it was meant to read. And so it does, gently, obediently, again and again. Within this dance, timing is everything. Cells do not rush. They wait for the right signals. Proteins like cyclin D rise like a morning bell telling the cell to prepare. Checkpoints pause the process, asking, is the DNA intact? Are conditions safe? If not, enzymes repair. If repair fails, the cell may self-destruct, protecting the body from flawed copies. This safety is not just precaution. It is wisdom. A cell must know when to go forward and when to stop. The balance between growth and restraint is what keeps the body in rhythm, and that rhythm is how you stay whole. Every part of your body experiences this rhythm differently. Your gut lining renews every few days. Your red blood cells are replaced roughly every 4 months. Your liver, your skin, your bone marrow, each keeps its own schedule, dividing as needed, pausing when complete. Yet they all follow the same code, the same spiral, the same steps of division. And though the process may be repeated billions of times, it never becomes careless. The enzymes do not get tired. The chromosomes do not forget where to go. Even after years, the performance remains faithful to its original tune. Now imagine the DNA itself. 6 feet of delicate information folded into a microscopic nucleus. Before division, this DNA must be duplicated. Not roughly, not quickly, but base by base, letter by letter, by polymerase enzymes that glide along the spiral, checking each pair, matching A with T, C with G, over and over until the entire code is copied. This task is immense, but it is also quiet. It happens without your awareness, but it happens with such accuracy that, for most of your life, it goes completely unnoticed. It is only when mistakes slip through, when a letter is misplaced or a segment repeated, that the system alerts. Sometimes the mistake is harmless. Sometimes it changes everything. But always it is noticed. Always the system responds. As the copied chromosomes condense, they form shapes visible even under a microscope, X-shaped figures of coiled potential. At this stage, each chromosome has 2 identical halves, called sister chromatids. These will be pulled apart during division, one to each new cell, ensuring that both daughters receive the same book of instructions. The elegance of this is breathtaking. Imagine duplicating an entire library and distributing it perfectly every single time without mixing a single page. Your cells do this daily. Let's move now to the spindle fibers. These microscopic threads are spun from centrioles, tiny structures that guide the chromosomes with invisible threads of protein. They stretch across the cell, attach to the chromosomes, and pull them gently but firmly apart. No voice commands this. No thought drives it. It is the structure itself, the shape of the protein, the chemistry of attraction, that knows what to do. This self-organizing system operates without a brain, yet it performs with greater accuracy than many machines we've built. And when the chromosomes have been separated, the spindle disappears, its purpose complete. Meanwhile, the cell's outer structure begins to shift. The membrane pinches inward, slowly forming two separate shapes. Organelles, the cell's internal tools, are divided as well. Mitochondria, which provide energy, are shared. The Golgi apparatus, which packages proteins, is split. Ribosomes, which read RNA, float freely into both sides. The cytoplasm divides. And finally, like a curtain closing, a new membrane seals the two cells, completing the process. This is cytokinesis, the true end of the division cycle and the start of two new lives. But the story doesn't end there. Each new cell enters its own cycle, a period of rest, of growth, of preparation for the next division. Most cells do not divide constantly. They wait, they work, they maintain. This waiting is known as the G1 phase, where the cell grows and performs its specialized role. Then comes the S phase, where DNA is synthesized, copied again with the same care. Then the G2 phase, a final check. And then, if all is well, mitosis begins again. This cycle, called the cell cycle, is the heartbeat of your body's renewal. It is during this cycle that so many small miracles take place. Damage is repaired, proteins are created, energy is produced, signals are sent to neighboring cells. All the while, the genome stays at the center, not shouting but gently guiding. The genes are turned on or off as needed, depending on the phase, the purpose, the location. And even within identical DNA, different cells express different genes, because what matters is not only what the spiral says, but how it is read. And this ability to read selectively, to adapt, to divide and still remember, is what allows your body to grow from a child to an adult, to recover from injury, to replace what has been lost. It is why you can learn, why your skin mends, why your heart continues to beat with new cells, slowly replacing the old. And yet through it all, the spiral remains unchanged in essence. It is copied, yes, but its message endures. Division is not fragmentation, it is continuity. So when you think of yourself, do not picture a fixed form. Picture a river of cells dividing, renewing, moving forward. Picture the invisible music of mitosis, the choreography of chromosomes, the softness of enzymes guiding each step. You are not static. You are not still. You are becoming always. And at the heart of that becoming is the cell, quietly dividing, endlessly remembering how to keep you whole. Now let us drift into the closing notes of this cellular symphony, where the beauty of division does not lie only in the precision of the act, but in its quiet promise. The promise that life will continue, that the body will repair, replace, renew. Every cell that divides is a soft vow: I will carry forward what was given to me, and when that task is complete, I will rest. For not all cells divide forever. Some, like those in the heart and brain, pause their cycle, choosing stability over change. Others, like blood or skin, divide endlessly, but each one, whether active or still, holds the same spiral, the same instructions, the same memory of how to begin again. This is the grace of biology, that something as small as a cell can know when to grow and when to stop. And when it forgets, when the process slips, when division no longer follows the rhythm, disease may begin. Cancer is one such forgetting, where cells divide without order, without pause, growing where they shouldn't, ignoring the signs to stop. But even here the body responds. It sends signals, immune cells, repair enzymes. It tries to bring the song back into tune. Sometimes it succeeds. Sometimes it does not. But always it tries. Because built into the body's deepest layers is not just the ability to build, but the desire for balance. Let us return now to where it all begins: a single fertilized egg. One cell holding the entire code of a human life. That cell divides once, then again, then again. With each division, cells begin to specialize. One becomes muscle, another nerve, another bone. They all carry the same DNA, but they read different parts. Like a library where each reader opens a different book. This selective reading is not random. It is guided by signals, chemical messages from neighbors, from the environment, from the spiral itself. This process is called differentiation. It is how complexity arises from sameness, how billions of cells, all with the same code, become the tissues of a body. And even as these cells grow apart in function, they remain united in origin. This unity is what allows skin to heal as skin, blood to clot as blood. It's why when you are injured, cells around the wound begin dividing. They are responding to signals, cytokines, growth factors, the subtle cries of disruption. They do not rush. They coordinate. Each division is not just a reaction, but a calculated act of repair, a vote of confidence from the genome that order can be restored. Within this system lies another miracle: stem cells. These are the body's reserves, tucked away in bone marrow, in muscle, in the lining of the gut. They divide rarely, but when called upon, they awaken. Unlike most cells, which are fixed in their role, stem cells have potential. They can become many things. A stem cell in the blood can become a red cell, or a white cell, or a platelet, depending on what is needed. This flexibility is not chaos. It is possibility. And it is guided again by the spiral: which genes are activated, which are kept silent, which paths are opened or closed. All of it carried in silence, in molecules, in time. Let us not forget the elegance of symmetry. In many tissues, cell division is balanced. One cell remains a stem, the other begins to specialize. This ensures both continuity and growth. A copy is made, but so is a future. And this is perhaps the most poetic part of division, that it does not erase but extends. Each new cell carries forward the story of its predecessor, but also writes a new line, a new paragraph, a new chance. Nothing is truly repeated. Everything evolves. Even at life's end, division plays a role. As cells grow old, they reach a point called senescence. They no longer divide, but they don't vanish. They begin to signal, to influence other cells, to shape the tissue around them. Their role shifts from builders to watchers, from growth to guidance. This transition is not failure. It is part of the story, a quiet passing of the baton, a reminder that division is only one part of the cycle, that stillness, too, has purpose. And now, as you sit with this quiet knowledge, think of your own body: the skin on your hand, the blood in your veins, the lining of your lungs. Each part was built through division. Each continues to change, to renew, to hold its place in the rhythm of living. You do not see this. You do not feel it. But it is happening always. Beneath thought, beneath action, a cellular concert plays on thousands of instruments in harmony, each cell a note in a song older than memory. So when you look in the mirror or rest your palm against your chest, know that you are not fixed. You are fluid, a system in motion, a composition in progress. And every moment that you live, the cells within you divide, not because they must, but because that is how life continues. That is how the body says, quietly and clearly, I am still here. In this way, cell division is not just biology. It is poetry, the poetry of continuation, the gentle agreement between past and future, the silent assurance that as long as life remains, the spiral will turn and the story will go on. Beneath your fingertips, under the softness of your palm, covering the stretch of your back and the slope of your brow, lives the most visible, sensitive, and enduring part of your body: your skin. It is your constant companion, your boundary with the world, your barrier and your bridge. But what most people see as a covering is actually a reader, a listener, a messenger. Your skin is not just flesh. It is alive with receptors and signals, always absorbing light, pressure, warmth, and touch. In many ways, your skin reads the environment the way ancient stargazers read the night sky, tracking patterns, feeling rhythms, responding to subtle changes. And beneath this sensitivity lies a deeper code, hidden in the genome, shaping every ridge and fold with silent intent. From the moment you are born, your skin begins this quiet dialogue with the world. It senses sunlight and triggers the production of vitamin D, a process rooted in light and time. It detects cold and tells your muscles to shiver. It feels heat and orders sweat to cool you. It guards you from invaders and helps you feel love. And all of these responses come from layers, not just of tissue, but of design. The epidermis, thin and ever-renewing, holds cells that live for weeks, die, and flake away, all while new ones rise to take their place. Beneath that lies the dermis, dense and flexible, filled with nerves, blood vessels, and collagen. And deeper still, the hypodermis cradles fat and anchors the skin to muscle and bone. These layers are not random. They are sculpted by genes that have spent generations adjusting to weather, to touch, to danger, to light. Now imagine the cells that make up your skin. They do not just sit in place, they are in constant motion. At the base of the epidermis, new cells form from stem-like progenitors. These cells climb upward slowly over days and weeks, changing shape, becoming flatter, tougher, more protective. By the time they reach the surface, they are dead, no longer full of fluid, but dense with keratin, ready to form a barrier. And yet, even in death, they serve. They protect. They shine. Every cell you shed carries a record of your body's chemistry, your environment, your internal health. Your skin is writing your history, one flake at a time. This regeneration is guided by the spiral. The DNA inside each basal cell tells it when to divide, when to rest, when to form keratin, when to die. It tells the melanocytes when to produce pigment and how much. These pigment-producing cells live near the base of the epidermis, sending color into neighboring cells, forming the varied tones of human skin. But this color is not only aesthetic. It is a memory of the sun, of ancestors who lived closer to the equator, whose bodies needed protection from ultraviolet rays. More melanin meant more shielding. Less meant more absorption in lower light regions. And thus, your skin tone holds the story of where your family once walked, how they adapted, how the stars above them shaped the cells within them. Sunlight does more than touch the skin, it enters it. The UV rays interact with molecules, trigger reaction, signal to cells that repair is needed. The DNA responds. If the damage is too much, it may trigger apoptosis, the cell's gentle suicide to prevent further harm. If caught in time, enzymes rush to fix the broken parts of the spiral. This is how your skin maintains its integrity, not with armor but with awareness. It sees the stars not with eyes but with chemistry. Let's pause here and feel the texture of the skin, its ability to sense, to change, to hold. Touch your fingertips. The tiny ridges, the whorls and loops are more than identification markers. They are tools for sensation, amplifying texture, increasing grip. These patterns form before birth, influenced by genetics and the soft pressure of amniotic fluid. Once formed, they remain for life. Even burns and scars cannot fully erase them. They are your personal star map, a visible signature of the unseen instructions written within you. Nerves run through the dermis like roots under soil. They sense pressure, heat, vibration, stretch. Some are so fine they can feel the wing of an insect. Others detect pain, a vital signal, not of suffering but of protection. All these sensations are sent to the brain, but they begin in the skin. And the skin, in turn, learns. With time, it becomes more tolerant or more sensitive. This responsiveness is shaped not only by experience, but by genes, by how receptors are built, how quickly they fire, how long they stay quiet. And then there's the immune system of the skin. Yes, even here your body defends. Langerhans cells patrol the epidermis, watching for threats. They are part of the skin's quiet army, invisible but alert. When a pathogen enters, these cells react first, sounding the alarm, calling white blood cells to act. This surveillance is local, but its effects are global. A rash, a fever, inflammation, these are signs that your skin has read something dangerous and spoken up. As you age, your skin remembers. The sun etches lines where light has touched again and again. Gravity leaves softness where firmness once lived. But even these changes are not flaws, they are history. They are the proof of time lived, of signals received, of adaptation performed well. The spiral, always turning, adjusts the instructions slightly. Collagen production slows. Cell division decreases. But the skin still listens. It still feels. It still holds. So as you walk beneath the sun, as you feel the breeze lift the hair on your arms, as you touch the hand of someone you love, remember that it is your skin making all this possible. That it is not just wrapping your body but reading your world. And beneath every freckle, every pore, every tiny scar, there lives the spiral, quiet, patient, always remembering how to protect you, how to heal you, how to help you feel alive. Let's now wander further into the quiet wisdom of your skin, not just as a protector but as a storyteller. It speaks without words. It signals without sound. Each flush of warmth, each goosebump, each shiver is part of its language, and this language is ancient. When you blush, capillaries near the surface dilate. Blood flows closer to the air. Why? To cool the body, to show emotion, perhaps both. Scientists still debate the full reason, but the response itself is clear. The skin is reacting to something deeply felt. And this response, like all others, is guided by your genes. Your genome holds the instructions for when to flush, when to sweat, when to rise in prickles at the touch of a cold wind. This is not just reaction. It is remembrance of how your ancestors lived, what conditions they survived, what signals they passed on for you to carry in your own silent responses. In the layered quiet of your skin lies one of the most complex ecosystems on Earth, the microbiome. Billions of bacteria, fungi, and viruses live here, peacefully coexisting, forming a shield more effective than armor. They protect you from harmful invaders, teach your immune system tolerance, and even influence how your skin smells. Each person's microbiome is unique, shaped by genetics, environment, diet, even touch. A child's skin begins sterile at birth, then slowly acquires these tiny guardians from mother, family, the world. And once settled, they stay, forming a symphony of life that hums on your surface with every breath. Even here, DNA is at work, not just your own, but theirs. A sharing of information between host and guest, a partnership refined over millennia. Let's go deeper into pigment, into melanin, the molecule that paints your skin in tones from pale ivory to deep brown. It's not simply color, it's protection. It absorbs ultraviolet rays, transforming dangerous radiation into harmless warmth. This process is beautifully efficient, and it is entirely biological. Melanin is produced inside small cellular packages called melanosomes, which are transferred from melanocytes to nearby skin cells. The number, size, and distribution of these melanosomes are determined by your genes. They were written in the story of your lineage, not as decoration, but as survival. Those with ancestors from high sun regions carry more melanin. Those from cooler, dimmer lands carry less. Your shade is not arbitrary. It is adaptation. It is the memory of sunlight written into skin. Even the healing of your skin is a miracle of coordination. When a cut breaks the surface, cells rush to repair. Platelets form a clot sealing the breach. Nearby cells release cytokines, molecular signals that summon help. White blood cells clear debris. Fibroblasts lay down collagen, forming new scaffolding. New cells climb across the wound like gentle workers, slowly closing it in. And beneath them, blood vessels grow, nerves reconnect. The skin knows not only how to close a wound, but how to remember its shape, its texture, its strength. This is regeneration, not of parts but of patterns, and each pattern is guided by DNA, by centuries of encoded response. Now feel the sensitivity of your fingertips. Within a space barely wide enough for a pin, you have thousands of receptors, Merkel cells for pressure, Meissner corpuscles for touch, Pacinian corpuscles for vibration, and free nerve endings for pain and heat. These receptors are not just detectors. They are translators. They take mechanical stimuli, a brush, a bump, a breeze, and turn it into electrical signals your brain can understand. The genome has crafted this system with quiet complexity, ensuring that the places you use to interact with the world, your hands, your lips, your feet, are rich in sensation, rich in understanding. And these senses change with time. In youth, the skin is quick to respond. In age, it becomes more deliberate, the layers thin, collagen loosens, elasticity fades. But even this is not loss, it is transition. The skin, like the rest of the body, reflects the passage of time with grace. Lines deepen not because the body fails, but because it has moved through years of expression, of laughter, of thought. DNA continues its work, adjusting protein production, guiding repair, responding to hormonal shifts. Even as the skin matures, it remembers how to serve. Within its pores, the skin also regulates oil and moisture. Sebaceous glands release sebum, a natural oil that protects and softens. Sweat glands excrete salt and water, cooling you in heat, helping to maintain homeostasis. The amount, the timing, the location, all controlled by the genome. Some people sweat more. Some produce more oil. These differences are not defects. They are echoes of ancestry, of environment, of design. A person whose ancestors lived in humid lands may have skin that retains less moisture. Someone from dry deserts may produce more oil to preserve hydration. These are not just traits. They are strategies formed by the stars above and the soil below. And perhaps most gently, the skin is where touch becomes emotion. The brush of a loved one's hand, the embrace of a child. These are not merely physical acts. They are sensory poems felt through skin, processed through nerves, interpreted by the heart. When touched kindly, the skin releases oxytocin, a hormone of bonding, of calm, of trust. This reaction is universal, yet deeply personal. It is your biology recognizing comfort, recognizing connection, responding with chemistry shaped by your DNA and your life. So the next time you feel sunlight on your face or a chill across your arms or the warmth of someone close, pause. Remember that your skin is not only sensing, it is learning, it is responding, it is remembering. And beneath every sensation, the spiral continues to turn, not with noise but with care, not with urgency but with precision. You are not simply wrapped in skin. You are built of knowing. And your skin, quiet and wide and wise, is reading the stars not with eyes but with every cell. As we near the end of this journey across your skin, let us pause and truly feel what it means to live inside this soft, strong, ever-listening boundary. Skin is not just where your body ends. It is where your story begins, where you first touched the world, and where the world first touched you. It was your skin that felt the warmth of your mother's arms. It was your skin that sensed the air on your first breath. And every moment since, it has continued to feel not passively, but actively, reading changes in light, temperature, texture, and connection with a sensitivity that rivals even your eyes and ears. Beneath its surface, DNA quietly orchestrates each shift, how cells grow, how wounds heal, how sensation travels. Let us return to that spiral, the code within each skin cell. It does not see the outside world, yet it knows how to respond to it. When the seasons change and sunlight fades, your skin adjusts. It dries, it reddens, it builds new layers more slowly. When the air grows humid or salty, it sweats differently. When you travel to high altitudes, it stretches and protects. All of this is encoded in the spiral, the story of how your ancestors once lived under shifting skis. It's why skin can change tone with time, why it can darken under sun, why it can thicken with repeated touch. It adapts not in panic but in grace. It learns and changes and still remembers how to be what you need. Even scars have stories. When the skin is cut or torn, the healing process begins instantly. But the result, the mark left behind, is not always the same as before. The new skin may lack pigment, it may be tougher or smoother. This is not error, it is memory. A scar is not just a flaw, it is the body's record of harm and of healing. The genome, in its quiet wisdom, rebuilds not for beauty but for strength. And when the wound is deep, it builds faster, prioritizing closure over elegance. The scar is the result of this urgency, a visible reminder of the skin's ability to save your life. The skin also remembers emotion, not in the way the brain does, but in reactions learned over time. Think of the way your face flushes when you're nervous, the way your neck tingles when you're being watched, the goosebumps that rise when a piece of music moves you. These are not thoughts. They are cellular reactions, echoes of past patterns built into the body over centuries. The skin is not just reacting to the world around you, it is reacting to meaning. That meaning is felt deeply, quietly, chemically. And your DNA shapes how these responses unfold. Now think of aging. Over the years, skin becomes thinner. The spiral still turns, but the instructions begin to soften. Collagen is produced more slowly. The balance of moisture changes. Elastic fibers loosen. This is not decay. This is the story of time told gently in cells. The genome adjusts. It does not resist the years, it flows with them. And even as new lines appear, as the skin becomes more fragile, its wisdom grows. It still senses, it still protects, it still renews. Just more slowly, more thoughtfully. And in that slowing is a kind of beauty, a soft fatting that speaks not of loss but of depth. And still, even in the last chapters of life, the skin continues its work. It regulates warmth. It heals minor wounds. It lets you feel love through touch. That never ends. Even in the final days when words grow few, a hand held softly can say everything. The skin remembers how to receive kindness, and it remembers how to give it back. These moments are not small. They are the culmination of a lifetime of sensation, of cells dividing, signals traveling, the spiral whispering. Let's return one last time to the stars. For your skin, like your cells, like your bones, was born from them. The calcium in your nails, the iron in your blood, the oxygen you breathe, all forged in cosmic fire, scattered across the universe, gathered by time and gravity and life. And now here you are carrying that history in your pores. When your skin senses sunlight, it is recognizing something ancient. When it responds to warmth, to cold, to another's touch, it is not just responding to now. It is responding to everything that came before. So next time you look at your hand, don't see it as just skin. See it as a reader, a communicator, a translator of the world. Within it are signals passed through generations, messages written in molecules, wrapped in cells, draped across your frame. Your skin knows the night sky even if you've never watched the stars. It knows warmth and danger and joy and sorrow. It knows because it was built to know. The spiral taught it. And so your skin is not just your edge. It is your opening. It is not just protection. It is participation. With every breeze that brushes your cheek, every footstep that touches the ground, every time someone you love holds your hand, the skin listens. It remembers. It feels. And all the while, the spiral beneath continues its gentle song, guiding, growing, and writing your story in the language of sensation. Before you had a name, before you opened your eyes to the world, before your first breath moved through lungs not yet fully awake, there was a thread. A silent, coiled thread that waited within a single cell. This thread was not made of cloth or string. It was made of molecules wound into spirals so small they could not be seen, and yet so powerful they would become you. This was DNA, the thread that made you. It did not shout. It did not force. It simply held its pattern, and in that pattern was everything. Your bones, your eyes, the sound of your laugh, the way your fingers curl when you sleep. All of it written long before your thoughts began, passed through time not in stories but in code. This thread was not created from nowhere. It came from your mother, your father, and from their parents before them and theirs and theirs. It is a lineage written not in history books, but in base pairs, adenine, thymine, cytosine, guanine, arranged in long, winding poems that have never been spoken but always remembered. The very first moment of your life was a merging of two halves of this thread, entwining in a single, invisible space. One fertilized egg, one beginning. And from there the spiral began to unwind, not in chaos but in direction. Cells began to divide, not randomly but with purpose. Some would become skin, some would become heart, some would drift outward and listen for sound. Others would settle deep, ready to carry oxygen. But all of them held the same thread. All of them carried the same story. Now imagine the quiet precision with which this thread worked. As the embryo grew, DNA told cells where to go, when to stop, what shape to take. A fold became a neural tube. A ridge became a limb. Openings formed where eyes would look, where ears would hear, where breath would flow. The body formed not from guesswork, but from memory encoded in the spiral. And though every human body is different, the instructions were shared. That's why your heart beats on the left. Why your blood moves in circles. Why your spine arches just so. It is the thread repeating itself, again and again, with just enough variation to make you only you. This thread does not end at birth. It continues its soft work every day. In every cell, in every corner of your body, it coils quietly in the nucleus, waiting to be read. Not all at once, only as needed. A muscle cell will read one page, a liver cell another, but none of them read the whole book. That is the magic of the genome. It is complete in every cell, yet read with such elegant restraint that no two cells become confused. The thread guides, not commands. It suggests, not shouts. And your cells, like good listeners, follow its rhythm. Thread also remembers how to protect you. When the environment shifts, the DNA does not panic, it adapts. If sunlight increases, it signals for more pigment. If cold persists, it helps grow hair, store fat, regulate warmth. It does not react to emotion, it reacts to need. It balances enzymes, manages hormones, orchestrates sleep and hunger and healing. And when something goes wrong, a virus, a mutation, a cut, it responds. It signals repair. It sends instructions. And when the damage is too great, it may gently instruct the cell to stop. This is not surrender. It is protection. Even in letting go, the thread preserves the body. But it is not only your thread. The genome is a shared garment worn by all living things, from trees that bend in wind to fish that glide in darkness, from birds that remember paths through sky to fungi that stretch through soil. All life is woven from some form of this thread. The difference lies in how it is folded, how it is read, which chapters are opened. You share over 98% of your DNA with a chimpanzee, more than 90% with a mouse, even stretches with the humble banana. This is not coincidence. It is connection. It is the thread tying life to life. And yet, for all its similarity, your thread is uniquely yours. The sequence, the small variations, the timing of gene expression, all of these make you unlike any other human who has ever lived. Your eyes may resemble your father's. Your hands may move like your grandmother. But your genome is a one-time arrangement of countless tiny decisions. Even identical twins, born of the same thread split in two, grow slightly apart with time. Their genes begin the same, but their lives write different footnotes, different stress, different sleep, different sunlight, different silence. The thread stays, but the story branches. Inside the spiral, there are sequences that have been passed down unchanged for tens of thousands of years. These are the ancient lines, the parts of you that once helped your ancestors digest new foods, survive harsh winters, fight unfamiliar illnesses. You do not remember these things, but your DNA does. It carries scars of famines endured, diseases overcome, migrations completed. Your body reacts to sugar, to cold, to emotion, not always because of who you are now, but because of who your people were then. You are not just a single story. You are a library with many voices whispering at once. So the next time you wonder who you are or why you feel a certain way, remember the thread. Remember the quiet spiral tucked in every cell, writing and rewriting your life with care. It does not judge. It does not forget. It simply turns gently without rest. The thread is not behind you. It is within you, still shaping every breath, every heartbeat, every moment of becoming. Let us follow the thread deeper now, into the silence of your cells, where it curls gently like a ribbon in the dark. This is not a thread that tangles. It folds with purpose. It wraps itself around histones, tiny protein spools, and coils into chromosomes only when needed. Most of the time, it lies relaxed, stretched like a soft net across the nucleus, waiting. And when a cell needs a specific instruction, perhaps to make a protein, perhaps to begin repair, the thread opens just a part of it, just enough to reveal what is required. That opening, that tiny uncoiling, is how your body learns to respond, how it remembers to grow, how it chooses what to become, all without noise, all without hesitation. Every action in your body begins here. When you eat, the thread signals your pancreas to release insulin. When you cut your skin, it tells nearby cells to divide, to rebuild. When you sleep, it lowers your temperature, slows your heart, deepens your breath. These are not choices. They are inherited movements, written long ago by bodies that survived before you. Some responses are ancient, nearly unchanged for millions of years. Others are newer, formed by the recent lives of your grandparents, their hardships, their diets, their migrations. These memories are not felt as thought. They live in methyl groups, epigenetic marks, tiny switches that turn genes on or off depending on what the body has learned to expect. Even emotions touch the thread. Stress releases cortisol, which binds to receptors that travel to the nucleus. There, they tell the thread to change its reading. Some genes are activated, others are silenced. Chronic stress repeated for years can leave lasting impressions, not only in the mind but in the cells. The thread adapts, not always for the better, and yet the spiral always tries to return to balance. It never stops seeking homeostasis. It listens to the outside, then reflects it within. And it works both ways. Joy, rest, love, these two reach the spiral. A peaceful night's sleep can quiet inflammatory genes. A calm breath can shift the thread toward healing. Even the gentlest acts, a smile, a walk, a moment of stillness, can echo down to the cellular level. You are not ruled by your thread. You are shaped by it. And the shape is always changing. Let's look at how the thread makes the body. First, it builds proteins. These are not simple things. A single gene may code for a protein with hundreds of amino acids, each in a specific order. That protein folds itself, guided by laws older than memory, into a shape that fits its task. Some carry oxygen, some defend the body, some build skin, some carry messages between neurons. All of them begin the same way: an uncoiling, a reading, a translation from spiral to molecule. The thread does not tire of this work. It has been doing it for billions of years. Sometimes a letter in the code changes. A single swap, perhaps a G becomes an A. This is a mutation. Most are harmless. Some are helpful. A few bring difficulty. But even these changes are part of life. They add variation. They drive evolution. They allow the body to try something new. The thread is not brittle. It is flexible. It has room for change, for mistakes, for new directions. Even when a change is damaging, the thread has ways of coping. Backup genes, repair enzymes, pathways that slow or stop a harmful cascade. The genome is not fragile. It is resilient. And the thread is not alone. It is part of a whole system. RNA carries messages from it. Ribosomes translate those messages into form. Mitochondria provide energy for the process. Hormones direct timing. This cooperation is not random. It is choreography, a dance learned over the longest possible time. The genome does not act like a king or a commander. It acts like a poet, offering lines that the body learns to sing. And the melody changes as you do. Even your response to food is shaped by the thread. The way you digest lactose, the way you process starch, the speed of your metabolism, all are encoded, and not just in the genes, but in how they are expressed. If your ancestors ate from rivers, your body may handle fats differently. If they harvested grains, your enzymes may favor carbohydrates. These responses are not always visible, but they are there, silent decisions made before the food even reaches your mouth. Your immune system, too, is shaped by the spiral. How strongly you react to pollen, how quickly you fight a virus, how your body tells friend from foe, all of it guided by genes. Some genes are always active. Others wait in the shadows, ready to be called. And as you grow, your experiences change their activity. The immune system learns, remembers, adapts. The thread is not fixed. It is always listening. You are not a product of randomness. You are the outcome of millions of quiet choices made by cells, by molecules, by spiral strands. These choices do not need to be understood to be honored. You don't need to see the thread to know it is there. You are its expression. You are its living proof. And in that proof is a kind of peace. Because if the thread made you and the thread still lives in you, then you are always becoming, always changing, always connected to something older than yourself. Something vast and soft and endlessly wise. So when you doubt who you are or feel lost in the noise of the world, return to the silence beneath your skin. The spiral is still there, turning. And in its turning, it holds the memory of everything you are. Let us now follow the final turn of the spiral, the last unfolding of the thread that made you. It does not end, this thread. It does not come to a sharp close like a string cut with scissors. Instead, it loops. It waits. It offers its pattern to what comes next. The same code that built your body now rests in every part of you, not just in your skin or bones, but in your blood, in the lining of your gut, in the tiny cells of your fingertips and your eyes. This code continues its gentle task long after the body feels still. It remains, curled in memory, ready to be read again, perhaps in a child, perhaps in a sample preserved, perhaps in a quiet echo within generations not yet born. DNA does not end. It is passed forward. And what it carries is not only physical. It carries possibility. It carries potential. You were not a blank slate when you arrived in this world. You are already a symphony waiting to be played. The color of your eyes, yes, but also the sensitivity of your hearing, the way your muscles stretch, even the small preferences you can't explain. Your body came prepared with ideas, not just structures, and those ideas were not formed in isolation. They came from lives before yours. Your thread is part of a much longer weave, one that began long before names were written, long before memory was held in minds. It was held in molecules. And even now that thread remains active, not all at once, not in haste, but softly with intention. Your body reads it every day, making choices without your awareness, when to make hormones, when to stop inflammation, how to build muscle after injury, how to calm your heart when you're safe again. You are not consciously directing these things. The thread is. And it does so not with commands, but with readiness. It offers instructions and the body responds. It's a conversation, not a hierarchy. One shaped by light, by temperature, by nutrition, by age, by emotion. Let's return to inheritance. You carry half your thread from each parent, two strands twined together, but this isn't a perfect copy, it's a new version. With each generation, small changes are introduced. Some are invisible, others shape features. This genetic shuffling is not a flaw. It is how nature balances fidelity with innovation. Too little change and species stagnate. Too much and stability disappears. But your thread found a middle way, preserving what works, exploring what might. You are a result of this balance, both ancient and new. Think of your ancestors now, not as ghosts in history, but as authors whose lines still echo in your cells. Maybe one passed along a stronger immunity, another a wider rib cage, another a gentler heart rate. You do not know their names, but you feel their presence every time you wake, every time you grow, every time your body faces a challenge and overcomes it. The thread that made them made you, and through you it continues. And still, the thread is not deterministic. It does not dictate who you must become. It only offers the materials. You may have the genes for endurance but never run. You may carry the potential for music but never sing. The thread gives the tools. Your life shapes how they're used. Environment, experience, choices, these bend the path. This is where your uniqueness blooms, not only in your code but in how you live it. Some parts of your thread will never be activated. Whole stretches will lie dormant like quiet hallways never walked. Others will blaze early then fade. Still others will awaken late in life, surprising you with new strengths or sensitivities. This is the dance of epigenetics, not changing the letters of the thread, but changing which ones are read. And this reading is guided not by chance, but by your world, your sleep, your food, your stress, your peace, even your relationships. It is a reminder that though the thread holds much, you still help write the story. And when your body begins to age, the thread does not unravel, it adapts. Telomeres, the protective caps at the end of chromosomes, shorten with each division. This is part of the plan, a way to measure time, a way to protect against uncontrolled growth. Eventually, the thread becomes less tightly coiled. Genes are read differently, repair slows, wrinkles form, muscles weaken. But even here there is beauty, because aging is not failure, it is transcription over time. It is the visible expression of a thread that has worked faithfully for decades. And when the final breath comes, the thread does not scream, it grows still. Cells quiet, DNA rests, but even then its influence continues. In those you leave behind, in the changes you made, in the expressions and gestures passed along, maybe in a smile that looks like yours, maybe in hands that move the same way, maybe in resilience learned from watching you live. The thread is more than molecule, it is memory. So let us end not with an ending but with a reflection. You are not just made of cells. You are made of stories, spiral stories, written in code, read in silence, expressed in form. The thread that made you is still at work, still turning gently beneath your skin, shaping your day, whispering through your bones. You don't need to understand it fully to feel its truth. The spiral lives, the thread continues, and through it so do you. Take a slow breath. Let it move through you. Feel the air touch the back of your throat, fill your lungs, expand your chest, and then just as gently leave you. This motion, this rhythm happens over and over more than 20,000 times a day, and yet we rarely notice it. But this breath is not simple. It is not just air. It is history, memory, and starlight. It is the echo of distant galaxies, the inheritance of forests, the quiet gift of oceans. The breath you just took might have been exhaled by a tree in South America, or carried across the sea by the wind, or trapped in ice 1,000 years ago. Every breath is a meeting of past and present, of sky and body, of the space between stars and the space inside your lungs. We often think of air as empty, but it is not. It is a mosaic of invisible molecules: oxygen, nitrogen, carbon dioxide, trace gases, tiny particles, each one moving in silence, colliding gently with others, bouncing between leaves, drifting through cities, circling the globe. And some of these molecules are unimaginably old. The oxygen you breathe was not created here, not on Earth, not in this moment. It was made in the heart of a dying star, billions of years ago, in the brilliant collapse of nuclear fusion, flung into the universe, collected by gravity, drawn into planets, into oceans, into the cells of early life. You are not just breathing air. You are breathing star stuff. When you inhale, your lungs don't just fill, they bloom. Tiny air sacs called alveoli unfold like petals, each one lined with cells so thin, so delicate, that gases slip through them as if there were no boundary at all. Oxygen passes into the blood. Carbon dioxide leaves. This exchange is effortless, automatic, but beneath it is a molecular ballet guided by the spiral DNA sequences that direct the construction of every receptor, every enzyme, every hemoglobin molecule waiting to carry oxygen forward. The genome does not tell you how to breathe. It builds the machinery that makes breathing possible. It holds the memory of lungs formed in the womb, of blood vessels branching like trees, of cilia waving like fields of grass to clear the path for the breath to pass. Now imagine the journey of one breath. From the air around you, through your mouth or nose, down the trachea, splitting at the bronchi, flowing deeper and deeper until it reaches the alveoli. There, oxygen meets red blood cells. Hemoglobin, a protein built from instructions buried in your DNA, latches onto the oxygen like a gentle hand. It does not crush it. It carries it, through arteries, through tissues, into cells. There in mitochondria, the tiny powerhouses of life, oxygen helps convert glucose into energy. And as this reaction unfolds, carbon dioxide is formed, carried back, released, and exhaled. A perfect cycle. A breath that gives and takes, not only for you but for every living thing. Yet this system did not always exist. The Earth, long ago, had no breathable oxygen. Early life thrived in an atmosphere thick with methane, ammonia, and carbon dioxide. But then something changed. Tiny organisms began to photosynthesize, to capture sunlight, to split water, to release oxygen as a byproduct. And over millions of years, the air transformed. Oxygen accumulated. Life changed. New beings emerged, able to use this strange, reactive gas. DNA adapted. Mitochondria evolved. Breathing as we know it became possible. And now, in each of your breaths, you carry the legacy of those ancient microbes. The air you take in is not just survival, it is evolution. Even now, your body senses oxygen without you thinking. In your brainstem, chemoreceptors monitor blood gas levels, adjusting your breathing rate without request. If oxygen dips, you breathe faster. If carbon dioxide rises, your breath deepens. This system works whether you are awake or asleep, in the mountains or at sea level, in grief or in peace. It adjusts to your body's needs quietly, constantly. And all of it is shaped by the genome, genes that code for sensors, for muscles, for enzymes, all inherited from those who breathed before you. There is something sacred in this, not in religion but in rhythm. Breath connects you to everything, to the tree that exhales what you inhale, to the ocean plankton that produce half the world's oxygen, to the wind that moves across continents. Every breath is borrowed. You do not own it. You take it, use it, and return it. This cycle continues whether you notice or not. But when you do notice, when you pause, breathe deeply, and feel the air move through you, you are touching something ancient. You are feeling the thread between stars. So as you lie back or rest your eyes or drift toward sleep, let the breath be your anchor. Let it remind you that you are part of a larger motion, the motion of wind and lungs, of cells and galaxies. The air around you is not just space. It is story. And in your breathing, that story is told again and again, not in words but in molecules, not in noise but in peace. Let us follow that breath even further now, not just where it goes but what it means. When you inhale, it is not merely air that enters you. It is the atmosphere itself, an invisible ocean stretching miles above your head, pressing gently on your shoulders, surrounding your every move. And this ocean does not stay still. It churns and flows, lifts and falls. The molecules that make up the air around you are always on the move, drawn by heat, driven by gravity, shifted by the Earth's turning. What you breathe is part of something global, something alive. The air that fills your lungs once passed through the feathers of a bird in flight, through the lungs of a whale rising from the deep, through the leaf of a tree you've never seen. It has been part of deserts and storms, of cities and forests. You are never breathing alone. Each molecule of oxygen in this invisible sea began its journey in light. It was split from water by plants, from carbon dioxide by algae, from photons by photosynthetic cells that dance in sunlight. These tiny factories do not rest. From the tops of trees to the surface of oceans, they capture energy and create the very substance you need to live. When you breathe in, you are drawing in sunlight made physical, sunlight turned into air. And when your blood receives that oxygen, when your heart pumps it through your body, you are, in a quiet way, running on light. Not directly, but deeply. The stars are in your breath, literally. Inside your cells, oxygen does not float freely. It moves with purpose. It enters the mitochondria, and there, in a reaction older than human memory, it helps convert nutrients into energy. This process, cellular respiration, produces ATP, the molecule your body uses for almost everything. Walking, thinking, healing, dreaming, all of it begins with oxygen meeting sugar in the quiet dark of your cells. Without oxygen, the process fails. Life fades, but with it, you thrive. You are powered by this subtle exchange. You are not just breathing air, you are breathing function. But oxygen is only one part of the breath. There is also carbon dioxide, the gas you exhale, the waste product of energy creation. Yet it too has purpose. Plants need it. They take in the carbon, release oxygen in return. This cycle, your exhale becoming their inhale, their exhale becoming your inhale, is the quiet agreement that keeps Earth alive. It is not dramatic. It is not loud. It is a balance happening every second between you and the green world around you. You breathe. The forest breathes. You do not need to see it. You only need to know it is there. There is wonder in this simplicity, that something as effortless as a breath can be so connected, so precise. But it is not always easy. At high altitudes, the air thins. Oxygen becomes scarce. The body adjusts, breathing faster, making more red blood cells, increasing capillaries. It takes days, even weeks, but it adapts. The genome has prepared for this. In people who live high in the mountains, Tibetans, Andean communities, specific genes allow their bodies to function with less oxygen. These genes are not new. They are old stories, written in response to cold, thin air, passed down over generations. The spiral watches the sky and changes accordingly. Even underwater, the breath matters. Though you cannot draw air beneath the surface, your body remembers its pattern. Freedivers train to hold their breath, to slow their heart, to move as little as possible. The body responds by conserving oxygen, by storing more in the blood and muscles. Marine mammals like whales and seals have perfected this. Their DNA allows them to collapse their lungs, to redirect blood, to dive deep without harm. You cannot do this in the same way, but your genes still whisper of a time when breath was more flexible, more patient, more closely tied to water. In the womb, you did not breathe through your lungs. Oxygen came through the umbilical cord, passed from mother to child, blood to blood, and yet your lungs were still developing. Tiny sacs forming, branching bronchi shaping into trees, preparing for that first breath, the one that would change everything. And when you were born and air entered your lungs for the first time, a switch was flipped. The circulation shifted, the alveoli opened, and the spiral turned a new page. From that moment forward, You would breathe on your own. The thread had written this transition long before you were aware. It had waited, patiently, for the right moment to begin the story of breath. There are times when the breath becomes more than biological. When fear rises, breathing quickens. When sadness settles, breath shortens. When calm comes, breath slows. These changes are not just reactions, they are messages. Your body speaks through breath, and breath shapes how you feel. In meditation, in prayer, in song, the breath is a bridge between mind and body. Breathing deeply can soften the edges of thought, quiet the storm inside the chest, slow the beating of a heart too fast. And even this ability to regulate emotion through breath, is written in the body, supported by genes that shape receptors, neurotransmitters, muscle control. Breath is both response and cause. And then there is speech. The breath pushed past vocal cords becomes voice. Vibrations shape sound. The mouth, the tongue, the lips all work together to form language. A soft whisper, a deep laugh, a child's cry all begin as breath. You do not think about it, but every word you speak rides on air. Without breath, there is no voice. And the shape of that voice, too, is encoded, the structure of your throat, the tone of your pitch, the way your muscles move. Even here, the spiral is present. It is in the sound of your name, in the way you say, "I'm home," in the stories you tell. So take another breath now wherever you are. Let it rise slowly. Let it fall. That simple motion is everything. It is your connection to the stars, to the plants, to the people around you. It is your body's most constant rhythm. It never asks for thanks. It never demands attention. But it is always there, turning air into life, moment after moment, guided by a thread too small to see, and yet vast enough to hold you entirely. Let us now drift toward the quiet resolution of this story, the breath between stars, the invisible thread that weaves through lungs, through skis, through time. There is something deeply sacred in how we exhale. It is not the end of breath. It is its fulfillment, the giving back of what was borrowed. Each exhale carries not only carbon dioxide but warmth, moisture, a trace of your presence. When you speak in the cold and your breath fogs the air, you are witnessing your life made visible. A breath turned to cloud. A memory turned to mist, and that mist will not vanish. It will rise, mingle, journey outward. It will touch the air others breathe. Nothing is lost, not even breath. At night when you sleep, the breath becomes even more profound. It slows, it softens, it curls into rhythm with dreams. You do not direct it, it guides you. In deep sleep, the body enters restoration, cells repair, memories settle, growth hormones rise, and beneath it all, the lungs continue their steady tide. Inhale, exhale, over and over. The breath keeps vigil while you wander through dreams. It protects you, nourishes you, grounds you. And this, too, is shaped by genes, by the architecture of your nervous system, by the patterns formed before you were born, by the instructions the spiral gave long ago and still follows with perfect loyalty. The spiral does not sleep. Even when your eyes close, even when you drift away, the thread inside your cells continues to unspool its instructions. It maintains balance, repairs damage, reads the needs of every tissue. And breath is the constant messenger, delivering oxygen to every waiting cell, taking waste away. In your deepest stillness, you are still moving, still breathing, still connected to the breath of the planet. And what of the planet itself? Earth breathes, not in the way we do, but in cycles of carbon, in flows of wind, in the movement of moisture and sunlight. Forests inhale carbon dioxide, exhale oxygen. Oceans absorb gases, release them again. The entire atmosphere rises and falls with the seasons. Satellites above the Earth can measure this breathing, the greening of continents in spring, the dimming in winter, the pulse of the biosphere, and you are part of that pulse. Your breath adds to it. Your presence affects it. You are not separate from Earth's breath. You are a verse in its endless song. In ancient times, people believed the breath was the soul. In many languages, the word for breath and spirit are the same. In Hebrew, asterisk ruach. In Greek, asterisk pneuma. In Latin, asterisk spiritus. The breath was more than biology. It was life itself. Perhaps they knew in some way what science is only now beginning to confirm, that breath is not just air but information. It carries molecules that signal immune responses, regulate the brain, influence mood. A single deep breath can slow the heart, relax the muscles, sharpen the senses. Breath is not passive, it is power. Even now, researchers explore how breath connects to the nervous system, how it influences memory, emotion, attention. The vagus nerve, which runs from brain to heart to gut, responds to breath. Slow exhalation stimulates it, calms the body. This is why deep breathing soothes anxiety, why sighs release tension, why humming feels like home. The body is not guessing. It is responding to ancient code written into the fabric of its own design. Breath speaks to the nervous system, and the system listens. And in the tiniest parts of the breath, in the molecules exhaled, there are clues to your health. Scientists can now detect diseases by analyzing breath, patterns of volatile compounds, traces of inflammation, markers of stress. Your breath holds a map of your body's inner world. You cannot see it, but it is there, revealing more than words ever could. And still, breath remains a mystery. Why do we sigh when we feel sorrow? Why does a yawn spread between people like a ripple? Why does laughter need breath and grief catch it? These are not random quirks. They are echoes of something deeper, of connection. You breathe not only for yourself, you breathe with others. In a room full of people, the air is shared. In song, breath becomes harmony. In conversation, breath becomes meaning. In silence, breath becomes presence. So what is a breath truly? It is not just gas exchange. It is not just chemistry. It is the moment where the inner world meets the outer world. It is the moment where you say, without words, I am alive. Every breath you've taken has carried you forward through joy, through fear, through stillness. Some breaths you remember: the gasp of cold air on a snowy morning, the sharp inhale before speaking truth, the slow exhale after holding someone close. Most you do not, but they carried you just the same. And when the time comes for the final breath, the last exhale, even then it is not an ending. It is a returning. The air that gave you life goes back into the world. Your breath becomes part of the sky again, part of the wind, part of the breath of trees and oceans and stars. You were never separate. You were always part of the breath between stars. So as you rest now, as you close your eyes or let your mind drift, let your breath remind you of your place in the vast, quiet dance of life. You are not alone. You are not disconnected. You are breathing the same molecules that once moved through mountains, through animals, through ancestors. The breath is ancient, and so are you. And in the soft rhythm of your breathing, a story continues, not with noise, not with drama, but with peace, with presence, with the same quiet strength that moves the galaxies and stirs the oceans. The breath is the bridge between self and world, between now and forever, between stars.